Hello, and thank you so much for joining me for Tune In Tuesday. My name is Sharon Rogers, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wells, Maine. And every second and fourth Tuesday, I like to bring you an online class. Now, today's class features the beautiful gallery suite of products. And I'm mostly focusing on the beautiful gallery DSP. It really is beautiful, and I'm using it a little bit differently this time. I've had a previous Tune In Tuesday class on that designer series paper, but this one is really focusing on the B sides, or the sides that aren't featured as much, with one exception, I think. But they're the more plain sides, and we are really working on monochromatic cards, which I probably should have made this a Technique Tuesday for monochromatic cards, but here we are, and this is what I have for you. So let's get started and see how simple these cards are to create and how beautiful they look. I'm beginning with this sheet from the beautiful Gallery 6x6 Designer Series paper. This is part of the beautiful Gallery suite, and it's got just some gorgeous, gorgeous prints. I used that in a Friday Night Live. We're going to use this one tonight. Beautiful. This would make a beautiful home decor piece as well. I'm going to use this tonight. I thought about using this one, but then I wanted something else. So we just have some beautiful, beautiful, we've made a card with this one. It's pretty. So there's just a bunch of beautiful, beautiful. There's another one we've used before. This is one of my favorite sheets. I almost chose this one tonight too, but I'm going with actually some very, I don't want to really say dark, although they are dark tones. But I want to show you how you can create some beautiful cards even with darker tones and a monochromatic palette. This is what I would consider a monochromatic palette because the cloud cover is really just several generations removed from the Secret C. So if you were to stamp Secret C repeatedly on a piece of paper, at some point you're going to get a cloud cover look. So you can see that there's just all sorts of pretty patterns. We use this one as well. So, and it goes for so many seasons. This is really a great, great paper. Highly recommend it. And the other parts of the suite are the Gallery Blooms bundle and the Beautiful Motifs bundle. But we don't need to use a lot on this first card. When I saw this paper, I immediately thought that it's a winter scene. Nothing in it tells me that it's winter because I don't necessarily see snow, although I could argue that maybe there are a little bit of snowdrifts here. But this really reminded me of two things. It reminded me of It's a Wonderful Life, and then it reminded me of a place in the city of Sanford, which is where I work. It reminded me of a place, this would be the restaurant. The restaurant doesn't look like that, but it just reminds me of that area. There's an open parking lot here, and then over here is where the post office is. It just, I don't know, it just made me think of that. So we're going to use this piece right here, and I'm going to cut it down so that it's landscape. So if I were to cut, and I'm not sure how much I can cut off. I don't want to cut off much of the image if I can help it. So let's just see how high this goes. So I probably want it to be 4 inches tall. So it's going to be perfect here. Right there. 4 inches tall and 5 1/4 inches. So we're going to cut off. There's a faint little line here. As part of the artwork. I believe this is a piece of artwork that hangs in a gallery because they did tell us that a lot of these patterns were replicas of that. So 5 1/4 takes us right to this other line as well. Perfect. Now monochromatic, so I can't bring in any other colors, so it's going to have to be gray or beige or something like that, or black. I thought I would bring in a base that is basic black because that really just makes that pop. We will cut that card base. I'm going to score it at 4 1/4. And then I will have 2 card bases worth when I cut it. Okay, so there's my card base. We're just going to put this on here. Now, I do want to make it a little bit more special, so I can't just leave it like this. I can put a saying. I can just put a saying right on the front. I can stamp it right here, or I can do something else up here. I can emboss. I can cut a layer that will have a sentiment up here. I know that personally I don't want to cover anything up down here though. So, and I don't know that I want to cover up anything over here, but I could do that. Let's see. I know that one thing I'll do is I'll probably pop this up on dimensionals. Now, because this is a thinner paper, you want to use more dimensionals, not less. The other way around that is you can cut a piece of a different cardstock the same size and mat it on that first, and that would make it a little bit more sturdy. The other thing we can do is we could just, you know what? I think I like this even better. So instead of a card base of basic black, I'm going to use a card base of basic beige. This is one of Stampin' Up's newest neutral tones. Like it's one of their basic tones. So like very vanilla and basic white. It's not one of the neutrals like the Color Family neutrals. All right, so now we need to cut this down and just a little bit. So you know what? I'm going to save that base. I have another piece of basic black. So this piece of basic black is just 1/8 of an inch smaller than my card base. So this measures 4 1/8 this way by 5 3/8 this way. And I'm going to adhere that. It just gives a teeny tiny little black border, but it's enough to really make that look a little bit more finished. You can also cut this scene down a little bit more if you'd like more of a border, but I like having a lot of it show. In just a second, I'm going to show you an alternative to this that I like to do when I have a scene as well. And we're going to pop this up on dimensionals. So again, I'm going to take this, this piece of extra dimensional edges and put it to work. Let's make that a corner here. Perfect. All right, and we'll just make it a little bit more, whoops, a little more sturdy with one in the center. Now, with having more dimensionals, that makes sticking it a little bit harder because you don't want anything to stick until you're ready for it to stick. The trick around that is you don't have to take all the backings off. It's still going to give you the lift even if it doesn't give you the stick. All you need to do is make sure it's got enough stickiness to hold it down. Let's see how that looks. Oh, that looks pretty good, I think. So there is my card. Now we just need a sentiment. Let's bring in a couple things. I'm bringing in some vellum because it's back and it just adds a softness that I love. And I think I'm going to bring in some white, even though, first of all, white doesn't count as a color, and neither does the vellum because it's a white too, but it's a translucent white. So it's not going to break the monochromatic nature, just like the black doesn't break the monochromatic nature of this piece. So if I bring in my beautiful motifs, we do have this beautiful, I think it's Queen Anne's lace, but I couldn't swear to that because, you know, I don't know my flowers at all. But what I can do is I can cut out a couple pieces. If I look in my gallery blooms, by the way, in the new mini catalog coming up, you're going to find some wonderful greenery. So let's see, I'm going to take this smaller leaf, I think. I'm going to take this and I'm going to take a smaller leaf. So I think I'm going to have the leaf out of the vellum, and I'm really only going to use a portion. You know what? Let me just stick with one particular stamp set at a time. Bundle. If I look here, I could use this one because it's just one little sprig of the Queen Anne's lace. So I'm going to die cut these. I can do it at the same time. Relate to 1 and 2. One of the 3s. I'm going to just run the vellum. I don't need such a big piece of vellum. I'm just not going to run it all the way through, that's all. Same thing with the white. Don't need such a big piece, but that's what I've got. I can just set both of these through aside as my die cutting pieces. Let's see, so that's a great way to get your images out. See, works almost every time. Sometimes if it's more intricate, it takes a little bit longer. That's all right. Let's bring in this piece right here. So this is modeled after something that is in the catalog. But just look how, I think that the vellum, even though this isn't a winter, I mean, these aren't winter pieces, I think they add a bit of a winter quality to them. And then we can just add in a sentiment over the top. I'm gonna just kind of add this over here. And I think in the catalog they added stuff over here, but I didn't want to cover up that lamppost. The lamppost to me and that road, that's what makes it a wonderful life for me. So I'm not going to cover that up. All right, so I have a piece that is 5/8 of an inch wide. And you can bring in any sentiment stamp set that you want. But I thought I'd bring in the beautiful motifs, and I have Thinking of You already mounted and ready to go. I'm going to bring in my Memento black ink. Stamp that right there in the center. And we're going to just set a few of these pieces in place with a mini glue dot. That's going to be the easiest way to adhere them. Trying to put the glue where I know my sentiment is going to cover. So there we have something that looks just like that. We'll put this up on dimensionals. It's long and skinny, so I'm going to put a third one in the middle. And there we go. These antique pearls are just the right color. I'll add a couple of them. And there's, you know, one would look really nice in there too. Almost like a little flame burning. I wonder if that would look good. Let's try it. We can always take it off. Yeah, it doesn't look good. So, but you can form a triangle and add another one out there. And here is our first card. As I mentioned, here's an alternative card when you want to maybe spruce it up just a little bit or create a little bit more interest in the scene. So here's the full scene, just very plain and simple. And this is plain and simple as well, but we've made strips of the cardstock or the designer series paper piece. We cut it down quite a bit and then sliced it into 4 1-inch pieces. Mounted it on a single piece of black cardstock. Added a little bit of basic beige ribbon because it matches, so it does not ruin the monochromatic feel, and more of the pearls. So this pattern reminds me of deep winter when everybody's starting to get sick of the snow and they've just had enough, but it's still kind of stormy. You can see some trees lightly in the background. So it's like it's snowing or foggy or something, but there's just not a lot of color. I think this is great for a bit of a somber occasion, not necessarily sympathy, because I don't like to use, just really dark colors for sympathy. But, maybe there's, a hospitalization, or maybe there's just a thinking of you, and this is going to a mail, and you don't want a whole lot of bright flowery colors. I'm going to bring in my Gallery Blooms set, and in there, actually I've taken it out already, one of the dies cuts out these frames. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in some basic black. I'm going to do some die cutting first for my frame. And now remember, because this has a hard edge, like a very straight edge, I'm not going to send that very straight edge through. I'm going to turn this on an angle, so a little bit of it goes through at one time. And then you won't hear a big bang. Let's see what we have here. So this really cuts out a couple different frames, and you can nest them, and you can certainly use this piece as a sentiment layer some other time. So you can nest them and put them on different heights. So you could have the top one raised, or you could have the outside raised. I think when you look at the top one raised, it makes it look more like a true picture frame that might have some beveled edges. But I don't think I'm going to use this because that's going to cover up too much of this beauty. So I need to position this where I want it. That's how I'm going to determine where to cut here. I can have those large trees. I think I like having some of the middle here. So we'll bring in our paper trimmer. And it looks like I'm going to trim in just a little bit over here. And I want it smaller than this frame. And this frame happens to be 3 5/8 inches wide. So if I made this 3 1/2 inches wide, that would be perfect. So I've got some strips that I can use maybe on the inside. And then we need, my card is going to be, I'm going to use a base of gray granite. And we're going to get something that goes like this in here. So we've got the gray granite being picked up. We've got the black. And now we just need to trim it to size. So the height of this is 5 1/4. So I think I'm going to cut this down to be about 5 inches. I'm going to take most of it off the bottom, I think. Let's take off, let's see how this goes first. So if I put this back in here, yeah, that looks really good right there. I just need to take a little bit off the top. I'll take 1/4 inch off the top. So this piece that I'm finished with measures 5 by 3 1/2. All right. Now, I'm going to bring this in here, but I do want to add a little bit of snow. And you can see that this frame is not, my card does not have the same border around the frame everywhere. So if that bothers you, you can do a couple different things. You can put it on an angle, which then makes it much less obvious. Or you can push it to one side and then bring something over here. But no matter what I'm going to do later, let's not worry about that right now. Right now, I want to bring in a piece of scrap paper. And I need to bring in my white pigment ink refill. And I'm going to make it snow. I'm going to shake my refill a little bit. And I just need a little bit of something to put this on. I can wipe it off later. So I can actually use, you know what? I'm going to use a little block here. I'm just going to put a little bit of this pigment ink on here. A little bit's going to go a long way. And I need to water that down a little bit. Did you know that the water painters are back in stock? I think they're a different maker, but it doesn't matter. They're still the same. They work the same way. So I'm going to squeeze out a little bit of water here and get it kind of runny. And then I'm going to get a bunch on there, and then I'm going to splatter. So can you see the snow coming down? You want to pay attention to where it splatters so that you know where to put it. So you can see I have a whole lot left over. So now would be a good time. Anytime you want to splatter, now would be a time to get those projects out and splatter. All right, so I'm going to let that dry for a second, and I'm going to go rinse this off. All right, I have cleaned my water painter in block, and this is still, some of the larger dots are still a little wet, so I'm just going to hit it with my heat tool. This is a great way to add snow to any project. So simple to do. And while I highly recommend the water painters, you can use any paintbrush as well. Okay, let's bring this in. I'm going to bring our card base in. Now we need to decide what we're going to do about this frame. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this off to the side a bit, and then I'm going to do something over here. Now I could bring in a different gray, not that one doesn't work. Let's see, I can tie this in right here, and let's see what we get if I bring in just a little scrap. These are 4-inch pieces of basic gray, and they're just going to go in here like this, just centered down a little bit. So let's begin by adhering this. Okay. I'm going to adhere it right to the center. That way I know the frame will cover it up. Okay. When I cover it up with the frame and center that frame, let's look and see how far these gray, basic gray pieces should be in. Okay, so it looks like it's just, if I put it in like that, there's just about the same amount showing on the left here as on the right if it is flush with this piece right here. So let's go ahead and we want just a little bit showing out here, and we want it to be centered top and bottom. That looks pretty good, I think. Don't have to press it down until you've got the other one done, just in case you want to move it a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing over here. So we have just a little bit showing. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, oh, those are a little bit too wide. Oop, let's see if we can fix this. We can. I know we can. All right, I cut these to be just 1/2 inch wide. And so let's see how these are going to look. Now, if you had adhered this, you notice that I could pick it up and I didn't do much damage. I did a little damage over here, but that's going to be hidden anyway, so it doesn't matter. But in the event that you want to loosen some adhesive, one of the things you can do is hit it with a heat gun. That's going to soften the glue in most cases. And so here now I have this. And that just gives a little something out there to look at. All right. I do need to adhere these properly now that I've got the right size. Here's that one. And here's this one. And that works, that little trick for adhesive in the heat tool works with both glue and tape runner. Probably a little better with tape runner, but glue if you get it quick enough. All right, now we're going to take this frame and we're going to put dimensionals on it. Now I happen to have these dimensionals, some edges left over from a paper pumpkin, so that's what I'm going to use here. I'm just going to cut some pieces up here, sprinkle them all around. I love making the most of my dimensionals. This would be a good time to use the black dimensionals as well, since I'm using black cardstock. But these aren't going to show. They're right in the middle. Okay, that's all of them. All right, let's see how that looks. Pretty good. Oops, I got a little bit of white snow on there. It's all right. So there's our nice little wintry scene. We just need a sentiment now. I have a 1/2-inch scrap of gray granite, which is the base of our card as well. And this sentiment is very thin, this thinking of you. So it could go under here. I would probably want to cut it a little bit thinner if it were like a nameplate that you might see at an art museum. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stamp this, leave a little bit of room on the left-hand edge, because I'm going to angle cut this. And I'm not going to angle cut the other side. I'm going to just kind of do a little straight cut right here. Hopefully that's straight. Okay, that's pretty good. And I can pull it, I think I need to pull it back a little bit. I don't want the word you on my frame. So that's good right there. Now the frame is popped up on dimensionals and down here is not. So we need to put dimensional underneath this. And this end. And if you want to really get it to adhere to the frame, you can just put a little bit of glue out here. You don't really need it though. And we've got that right. Oops, let's make it straight. Let's make it straight. There we go. Thinking of you. Just a very, very simple card. You could add some texture to this by stamping, or you could use an embossing folder. But again, it's just a very, very simple card. You've added a little bit of snow to it to make it a little bit more wintry, which is the season we're approaching. To brighten it up, you could take some of this Baker's Twine Essentials pack, because you don't want it to be too dark. I mean, we did add the white snow. And we could tie just a little bit of bow with this white Baker's Twine, which I'm really surprised I have any of it left. And we can adhere that right over here. All right, all I need is a glue dot to do that. Mini glue dots right here. Now the knot on that is smaller than the glue dot. So when that happens, I stick my knot. Always a good idea to stick something to the glue dot and not just peel it off with your fingers. But then I'm going to squeeze both edges of the glue dot. It kind of wraps it around the back and lets you play with it. And so you can kind of just do this. And there we go. If you want to trim the edges a little bit more, ends, you can do that. So there we go. And we have a simple card. To do the inside, just take a piece of basic white. You can bring back in one of the pieces that you cut off and just put that on the edge here. I think that edge is, I think it's going to be fine. If I cut off any more, it's not going to be really recognizable that that's a tree. I think I'm going to put it to the inside of the card though. Let's see, do I want the inside? No, I think I want the outside. I'm just going to put this in here. I'll align it right to the top and right edge. That glue allows me to reposition it so I get it lined up perfectly. There we go. And we have a simple masculine wintry card. And there we go. Before we get to our next and final card, I wanted to make sure that you knew that today was the kickoff of Stampin' Up's Black Friday sale, where there are select products up to 40% off. It runs from today through December 1st, and don't wait. There will be things that sell out because people are jumping on them soon. So take a look in my online store. You'll find the link in the description of this video, and get those orders placed before you miss out. Now, let's go back to our cards. For this card, we're using the back of the, I don't know what kind of trees these are, maybe bamboo looking trees. I don't really know. But we're using this back side, which is a bunch of grays, goes from light to dark. So there's basic gray over here, and then there's a gray granite and a smoky slate in here. So you can't go wrong if you pick any of those for bases. But what I want to do is I want to do some heat embossing on this. So I'm going to break out my Gallery Blooms stamp set, and I'm going to choose this largest image here. Sometimes a very simple technique can really jazz up a card. So we know that this is going to be too large for a normal card base, so we can cut this down. And I think I'm going to make it 2.5 inches. Let's make it 3 inches. So it's mostly the dark gray that I'm going to be using. And we're gonna put this flower on here. And I don't know if I'm gonna do it a couple different times or just once. Maybe I'll just do it once. I know I do have to cut it down some too though, because 6 inches long is way too long. So let's go with 5 inches long. All right. We will bring in our basics embossing box. I keep mine in a box. We'll bring out the Versamark. I'll take out my embossing buddy just so we can de-static this and get any oils that might be on it off. Helps it so this powder only sticks to where it's supposed to stick. We will ink up our stamp with our Versamark. For those who have never heat embossed before, Versamark is an ink that is unlike our regular classic inks in that it stays wetter longer. You can also use the white craft pad that does the same thing. Let me see if I've got that here for you. So this is the white craft pad. It's a pigment ink. All the rest are water-based inks and dry pretty quickly. So let's see, we're just going to put that right there in the center, just like that. And I'm going to emboss with white embossing powder. So the basics kit, or the basics bundle here, comes with black, clear, and white. And I've marked the lid of my white with a W, so I know that that's not the clear, because the clear one looks a little white in the bottle. Okay, so we've got our Embossing Editions toolkit. It contains a tray. This one's black because it's an old one. The current one is a gray. It also comes with a brush and reverse tweezers and that embossing buddy. The powders are sold separately, last quite a long time. Some colors more than others because, well, let's face it, I like some colors more than others. I will run out of white before I run out of anything. Now we'll take our heat tool. And just heat it up. And the first time you're using your heat tool, it's going to take just a little bit extra to heat up and therefore melt the powder. You don't want to get your hands close to it because it will burn. But once you see it start to turn a bright white, then you're going to move on to the next section. You don't want to over emboss, because not only will it run a chance of scorching the paper, when it over embosses, it sinks into the paper and will no longer be raised. Just realized I did not put my my microphone back on, so the sound for this card is probably going to be a little bit different. Now, what do I want to bring in here? Do I want this? I think I want that. Probably with, let's see. I don't like that frame. Let's see here. I think I like, I think I'm gonna want a lighter color card base. Something like that would look nice. I'm gonna cut my basic black down. And this was 3 by 5. So I'm gonna cut this to be just a little bit. I don't want it to be overpowering, so I'm going to make it 3 1/8 by 5 1/8. Just an eighth larger. I'll be able to put that on just like that. On Thursday, I'm going to create one more look that goes with our monochromatic theme. And then on Sunday, I'm going to show you how we can create a Christmas gift. Because remember, it's all about gift giving and gift packaging in my 12 Sundays of Christmas. So that's what you're going to get on Sunday, something, hint, that incorporates what we've done today and we'll do Thursday. All right, so now we have this, and I think a nice ribbon would look great here. Now we have a couple choices. We can use, this is a ribbon that is on the last chance list, or at least when I'm filming this it is. Who knows if it's sold out by the time you see it. So we can tie it around here, or we can use it as a treatment for the background of our sentiment. Well, let's see what we're going to do for a sentiment. Again, you can bring in any sentiment from any stamp set you want. I think I'm going to bring in the "You've Been on My Mind." I'm here for you always would also be nice, but "You've Been on My Mind" is a nice one too. Let's see if I can find it. It's right here. All right. And I think this would look great. I think I'm going to bring in a circle because there's some round shapes in the flower too. So I think that complements that nicely. It can hang out over here. Now this is not the right color, although it does pick up some of that. And it's a little bit too large, but this is probably the look I'm going for. All right, here's my Stylish Shapes dies. And with you in mind, I think this smallest one will work. Yes, it will. But do I want a slightly larger one? I might. You know what? I'm going to cut both. See which one works best. It's just a circle, and it's not like I can't use it some other time if it doesn't work out. Okay. My piece of basic black scrap and my circles. Again, I'll want to get out my embossing because you can't put an ink color on black and have it show up. It's not a pigment ink. All right, let's go ahead and stamp on both of these. We'll again get out our embossing toolkit. if you don't want to touch it, because that might put some oil on it, and you can use these reverse tweezers to hold it. There we go. You probably see a little powder residue on the black pieces right now. Don't worry, that'll come off. I'm probably going to use that smaller one, but we'll see. We will see. This is going to be a great time to employ my reverse tweezers. Give a little tap on the back. That's what I like to do. Funnel the powder in so there's no waste. I put my tweezers away too soon. Hold it with my take your pick tool. Now you do want to be careful what you are embossing on. This mat's heat resistant. I think it is anyways. Hasn't given me any problems yet. All right, now let's see which one of those we like better. Let's bring in our card elements that I have not affixed yet, because you just never know. So we can, I think, put this right over here like that. I do like it off the side a little bit. I think this is too small. So let's go ahead and use this one. Now, can we incorporate the ribbon at all? A fun treatment is sort of to triple it on itself. And we just sort of zigzag it over. It's probably too big. I don't think I'm going to like that though. Nope, I'm not. Let's just put this on with dimensionals. And I just grabbed the first dimensionals I found, which are my mini ones. It'll work just fine. And I have to adhere this piece to the front. They've been on my mind. Now, is there a way that we can incorporate this ribbon? We could tie a bow. And we can stick that right on there. That's kind of nice. Let me show you a second option. A second option would be to incorporate one of these gray colors. I'm going to get out my light gray granite, and I'm going to, with my light gray blend, I'm just going to color on this white ribbon. Now this ribbon has quite a bit of texture to it, so you want to go slowly and carefully, about as much as you're going to need to tie a bow, which I'm probably getting close to that amount. And then probably you may need to flip it over and just even it up on the back side a bit. All right. Now the blends don't take very long to dry. So let's hope that I can actually tie it here. You will find that once this is dry, it's a little bit stiffer after it's been colored with blends. Still a little wet right now. That's all right. Not much is coming off on me. Then I can incorporate that right in here, so I have a darker colored ribbon. And so we can put that right there, and it really just ties in all the colors, I think. I do like that one. We're gonna keep that one and put that on with some glue dots. Where'd my glue dots go? Here's the glue dots themselves. So I stick my ribbon to the glue dot. And then I pick it up and then I stick it down. Now, this is not sticking. Oh, you know what? I think because the ribbon is still a little bit wet. So it's best really to let it dry a little bit more. And then if you wanted to bring in some other bling, you could, but I think we're just going to keep it just like that. Just stamp something on the inside. I would probably go for another white panel on the inside. 4 by 5 1/4. And I will take out my lightest gray, which is smoky slate, and stamp that image, and not just stamp it, but I think I'm going to stamp it off first. So what I mean by that is take a scrap piece of paper, stamp it, because that's still pretty dark, and then I'm going to just put it right here in the middle. So it's just nice and light, makes a nice little background for whatever sentiment you want to put in there. Again, a very simple card, which it's always nice to have some simple cards in your back pocket. Gonna have to wait until this fully dries. You can see the dots stick well to the paper. The other alternative is to just use some glue and let it dry there too, which I'm going to do that now. Okay, but that will need to be held. You can't really mess with that either. You just have to leave it in place and let it dry. Oh my goodness, I'm having such a hard time with my bow. And the bow now stays. So we're all set. What a pretty card. Just a nice soft background. It's got those brush strokes and the variegated tone with the white embossing. Really pretty, but oh so super simple. Now I know somewhere in this video I mentioned tuning in on Thursday, but of course Thursday is Thanksgiving, so you wait until you need a little alone time, a little downtime, a little craft time, and then watch the video that will have aired Thursday at noon during my usual lunchtime look time slot. We're going to be creating a fourth card using the same DSP and monochromatic theme as these 3 cards tonight. And then on Sunday, I'm going to take all of that and then combine it with another project, because 12 Sundays of Christmas is all about gift giving and packaging. And so I'm going to have an idea for you for that I think you'll like, and you'll be able to use all sorts of cards that you have lying around your house to gift to others this Christmas. Happy Thanksgiving. I hope you have a wonderful day with family and friends.